Deshawn Smith. I'm a 3L at Dow Law School. I'm also going to be an articling student at McGinnis Cooper starting in May.
Cool. All right. So you were talking about football. Tell us about football.
So I grew up playing football, probably started playing around grade 4. Me and all my friends, we played for this organization, Halifax Argos. We kind of all grew up playing together. It was just our way out. I grew up in public housing. Some rough stuff can happen down there. You can get stuck in some easy lives. There's only a few paths of getting out of the hood. So football was our way out for sure. I continued that journey throughout junior high, and I still played in high school as well. Then I ended up going to Acadia for my first year at university, and then I finished off at SMU. I played 2 years at SMU, but then unfortunately my career was cut short because of COVID. Had to make that decision, having a son and stuff. Had to make that decision of what I was going to do. So I, instead of doing like 5 or 6 years that typically athletes do, I ended up doing 4 years at SMU, took a year off, then I went to law school. But football was my drive, Football, what got me here, I play with so many different personalities, so many different characters, right? I got to be able to adapt to so many different environments. You're working alongside a lot of other guys. Usually I play defensive line and offensive line, so we got to work coherently together, right? So you got to be on the same page. That's where it usually starts in football. If you do know football, offensive line, defensive line is one of the more important spots you want to have. So you're working with others, you are problem solving a lot, you got to learn playbooks, so your IQ is probably going to have to be decent. And like me being an undersized guy, I kind of had to make my IQ decent, so that's why also when it goes to law school, like study and things like that, habits, I was always in my playbook. Just like when I'm studying for law school, I'm always in my books, always reading cases, always in my cans and frameworks, updating them, things like that. So football just translated a lot to law school for me for certain things, time management. Being a university athlete, I didn't have much time. I'm 7 a.m. lifts, I'm going to class, then I'm going to meetings, then I'm going to practice. Then I got meetings after practice. So I also got to get my study in, then I got to eat. So football just helped me grow up. It was a big thing. It helped me grow up. It helped me realize, okay, I got to really lock in. I got to be able to do things on the go. I got to be able to manage my time wisely. So football was definitely a major part of me becoming a lawyer, and it was a major way out of the hood for me.
See, you said about football, like, you're undersized? How you undersized doing football?
Bro, I played as some big boys, 6'5", 300. We had a couple guys at SMU, 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 350, Me, I played around, I'm only like 5'10", so I was playing around 5'10", like 270, so I'm going against big guys. But because of my size, I'm short, I had long arms, I was able to hold my own out there because of my leverage, right? So I kind of used that as my advantage. Big guys don't really want to get down there. So, walking the streets, the people are like, oh, damn, that guy's huge. But when I'm out there on the field, I can tell who's bigger than me, I've seen way bigger than me. I've been around people that tower me, outweigh me, But I never let that hinder me. The same thing with law, there might be someone that had more experience out there. They might have done policy work, things like that. But I never let that stop me from getting better at being a lawyer. I got to improve myself to be able to get to where I want to be. So size wasn't really a scare for me. It wasn't a challenge. Like I always worked hard in the gym. Like I said, I was always in my playbooks, things like that. So that kind of stuff also adapts to like being a law student, being a lawyer.
And when you see it, like you don't really, a lot of people are like football player, lawyer, like those two don't really, you think of a job.
Yeah, really right.
Watch the books.
For me, like, football was a way for me to go to university. Football was a way for me to get out of public housing, make a difference for my family. Both of my parents didn't go to university. My little brother didn't go to university, Especially having a kid too, I got to make his life better than what I had. I want him to have more than what I had growing up. I had a lot growing up, but still, seeing others, they got the nice shoes, they got the new Jordans, they got this, that. I want him to have that, right? So football, I was a football player, but I also was on my grades. You gonna clown me for getting a 95? That's fine. I'm getting my 90s. I'm trying to go to university. There's guys that I've played football with, great athletes and stuff, great basketball players, great Anything, great sport players, whatever, but they don't have the grades. You know what I mean? They don't have the grades to go further. They don't have the grades to go beyond. My football career might have not panned out like I wanted it to. You know, when I'm younger, might have wanted to go CFL, NFL. We have those aspirations, but keeping up my grades allowed me to be where I'm at now. You know what I mean? I never put my grades on the back burner. You know, sleepless nights, you know, deprive myself of sleep, studying, I'm up. I got an exam the next day, but I got practice till 8. I got practice and film till 8. That means I got to be up till 1 or 2 o'clock, then go write that exam at 8:30. You know, that's just the grind you got to do. So football, and it's like a court case. You know, if I'm going to court, I got to prepare. I'm up late night. So football is another, that prepared me for a lot of things with law. And it's just, we have that perception, you're an athlete, you know, you don't take your grades serious, you don't blah, 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 all those things. But I knew for sure that the route to be a CFL player wasn't easy. Plus COVID happened. So I knew my route was going to be even harder. I didn't want to put all my cards in the football.
So was football your backup or school was the backup?
Football was, growing up in my mindset was football was my forefront. But as I got older, as I got in university, okay, now I understand football wasn't my forefront. Getting this degree at SMU first was my forefront. Now coming to Dow, that was my forefront. Football helped me go along the way. Football was a tool. AI is a tool. People use AI to write whatever. Football was my tool. When I was younger, I didn't realize that. I'm junior high. I said, well, I'm just playing football. You know what I mean? I had interest of being a lawyer since I was grade 7 or 8, watching them criminal shows, you know, First 48, all that. But it was always football. I played basketball when I was younger too. You know, it was always football, basketball. I'm trying to be LeBron. I'm trying to be this. I'm trying to be Kobe, things like that. So I would say, when I was younger, I didn't really realize that football was more of a tool for me to get where I'm at now.
So you grew up with a lot of guys that play football. You grew up in housing here in Halifax. A lot of guys never got to where you at.
Right.
I'm sure you saw people fall off along the way.
All right.
When you see certain people around and they see you doing the things you're doing now, what's the reaction?
It's definitely a respect thing. You know what I mean? Like I spoke on it before, like I've lost friends off this, like, you know, guys, grades, big time football players, you know, I lost a friend based off that type of story. So it's like, it can hit home for real. So like getting the respect, going to the hood, like I grew up in Mulgrave Park. My mother's from North Preston. My dad grew up in Uniacke Square, and his lineage come from Africville, right? So me, I've never been kind of I've never been the type of guy to be claiming the hood. I've never been the type of guy to like, oh, I'm from here, I can't mess with that side, blah, blah. I want to go places. I'm cool with everybody, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really indulge in that. I'm not trying to indulge in that. So going down places, you know, oh, what you been up to? Oh, I'm in law school, da-da-da. You know, getting that respect. You know, men see it in another light. Okay, yeah, I like that you're doing that. Oh, that's what's up. Especially elders. You know, an elder that might have seen you growing up, haven't seen you in a while, you telling their story. He's like, oh, I love that, blah, blah, blah. You know, they get excited for you. They enjoy, like you see the enjoyment on their face when you tell them that. The conversation carries on. Every time you see them now, they're like, oh yeah, I've been like what you do, and I knew. And a lot of the time, I find the elders know, you know what I mean? Like they see. So they like, oh, I knew you were gonna do something, but I'm so glad you did this, blah, blah, blah. And even around my peers, like getting the respect of my peers, every time I see somebody I went to high school with, or I went to university with, haven't seen in a while, or someone I grew up with that I haven't seen in a while, they're always, oh bro, I love what you're doing, stick with the law, blah, 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 things like that. So it's definitely, it's a value getting that respect for me, you know what I mean? Like it's a value thing, having that respect wherever I go.
Nice, man, nice. Yeah, I was wondering about that when people see you, like, because it's rare.
Right.
What you were able to accomplish over the last 5 years has been, that's not normal.
Right.
You know, unfortunately.
It is unfortunate, and like coaching, I've coached youth football for about the last 4 years now. I was at high school this year, and you know, talking to the kids, it's not that they might see me as a lame, they might not see but the path might be harder for them. You know what I mean? They might see that, oh, that's a crazy path. I don't really like school like that. I don't really want to be in my books like that, things like that. But I always tell them, it's just the little things. To get into university, especially your undergrad, you only need a 65, 70, right? Just do what you can to get there. You know what I mean? Just it's a little bit of work. It's only a little bit, but you can take yourself there. You can get to where I am. You know what I mean? Like all these kids, you know, I'm an NBA player. I want to be an NFL player. I want to play sports and stuff. Not only you have to put the work in the gym, you got to put the work in school. You can't get to the NFL. You can't get to the NBA without playing in college. Whether that's youth sports, whether that's NCAA, you can't get there. You can't be a professional sports athlete without getting to college, especially in Canada. Grades are a lot different, you know what I mean? Grades matter a little bit more when it comes to Canadian colleges, Canadian universities, right? And it's harder coming from Nova Scotia. We're a small town, well, city, a small city. There's not many avenues out for us that way, right? Basketball is already hard enough to get to the NBA. You know, what, 2% get there? CFL's a decent avenue, but not many of us go that. Not many of us get there. We might have the aspirations, but we don't get there. So a lot of the time, it's the youth. I just try to tell them, like, you guys can do this. It don't got to be a lawyer. You guys can go be a teacher. You guys can go be a doctor. You guys can go be a therapist, physical therapist. You can even go do physical therapy if you wanted to, right? You can go be a bank teller. You can do all these things. There's opportunities out there. It's just you guys gotta. It's just opening their eyes up to the youth, and that's a big thing for me. You know, trying to help guide the youth in the right way, you know, to let them know, like, yo, we can go this route. We don't gotta be in the streets. You know what I mean?
You find the youth receptive to it?
They can be, but it's building a relationship with them, right? And some youth build relationships differently compared to other youth, right? You gotta know who you're dealing with. And that's another thing with coaching. I've been able to adapt to the kids I'm dealing with, their personalities, who they are. I've been able to learn more about this generation, the generation of kids coming up now, how music they like, things they like, you know what I mean? I've been able to learn more about, I guess, their values as a generation, you know what I mean? So I've been able to adapt to what they need, how they need to learn, how they need to be taught things when it's football, you know what I mean? So I would say they're pretty receptive, but it takes time. Like with COVID and stuff, I wasn't in the communities as much as I wanted to be. Now that I'm able to be in the communities as much, especially being in the position I'm in now, you know, it takes time. That's what I've noticed the most. Like they come around. You know, I won't give up on them. I'm not the type to really, like, you know, give up on the kids. Like it takes time. I was that type of kid too, hard-headed, you know, always looking to fight, always ready to go. Anybody try me, I'm ready to go, things like that. And so I see that in these kids, but I also know these kids have good hearts. I know these kids have good mindsets. I know these kids can go on a good path. So they can definitely be receptive, but it takes time.
And I'm looking at it because there's been a lot of talent out of Nova Scotia, I would say, in the last 40 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Rather if it's boxing, we're the only person in this province or in the country that's won a Super Bowl and NFL.
Exactly.
NFL and Grey Cup. You have world championship boxers.
Right.
You got hockey players.
Olympians. Like there's a lot of talent that comes out here, and the big thing's exposure. These kids got a lot of exposure now that I didn't have. I graduated high school in 2017, 8 years ago. These kids got YouTube channels. These kids got Instagrams. These kids got things that promote them. You know, I'm going through Instagram stories. These kids are just posting highlight tapes. They just got them. They have the resources, right? It's just, when I was coming up, the only thing we had to do was playing those sports. You know what I mean? We didn't have the phones. We're outside. We're in the courts till night, till the lights come on. We're on the field playing football. We're finding any field. We had a field down in my community, Mulgrave Park, in front of my friend's house. We just used to play football there. We weren't running no drills. We weren't doing all that. We was just playing. You know what I mean? Like, so it's getting them back into that. Get out there. Just go play on your own. Go shoot hoops on yourself. You know what I mean? Just get better talent. Like, they don't realize the amount of talent that's come out of here, right? And that when just coaching and stuff, they kind of got the mindset, you know, they're the top guys and blah, blah, blah. But being able to be in the spot I was able to be in, playing university sports, playing against top tier athletes in one of the higher levels in Canada, I'm trying to teach them and give them that experience that, like, there's always someone out there working, right?
So you're going to be a lawyer soon,
right?
In corporate law. Do you see some kind of avenue in the future with these young kids coming up and how you're going to use that?
See, like, a big thing from even doing this interview, I just want to be able to send a message off to the kids that they can do it. You know what I mean? It might be hard. It might be a struggle. It's going to be sleepless nights. It's going to be tiring nights, but they can do it. You know what I mean? Having played football, and then having a kid transition into not being in school, then going back to school, and I've had my second child as well last year. Like,
Congratulations.
you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that are on my shoulders, but I carry them with me. They help me get through where I'm going through. You know, everyone's path is different, everyone's story is different, but it's mainly once I be getting into that position of power, once I can get into that time where I can do initiatives for the kids. You know what I mean? Let's implement law. Let's implement a little bit of law in elementary, junior high. Let's get them exposed to it early, expos and stuff like that. I want to do that type of stuff. IB&M program, let's get to these guys in junior high. I know we get to them now in high school, but let's get to them early, right? Expose them to the law early. There's a lot of things I've learned through law school that I did not know growing up. I didn't know that even like Jim Crow laws and the states versus our racism in Canada, how hidden that is and how different it is versus the states, right? There's a lot of things that we don't know, especially even African Nova Scotians. You talk to some professors, you talk to some African Nova Scotian community members, they think that we should be a distinct people, right? We have so many communities around here. I think there's around 52. There's a lot of heritage around here. So even being taught that, we're not taught that much. We learn about Africville, but only a little bit. So they're not taught a lot. They don't speak on what we should really know. Even like with finances, they don't really teach us that. So I think like exposing the kids to it, actually allowing the kids to apply what they know, teaching the kids the path, what they should do. I was all about sports, but I still made sure my grades were right because sports is not the end all be all. So for me, I just want to be able to expose the kids to it, get the kids started early.
Cool, man. Anything else up before we wrap up?
No, that's everything. I'm good.
Holla.
All right.